Oh, wait. Hold on. Yeah, why not? Let's do Lunar Apocalypse.
Yeah, piece
Yeah.
of cake.
Something different.
I'm down.
Nobody steals our chicks.
But I don't.
I'm sorry, I love Duke Nukem. Nobody steals our chicks and lives. That's awesome. I don't care.
That's chivalric of him. You know, it's kind of.
Sort of.
I don't know why I'm trying to defend Duke Nukem.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's it's a losing battle.
He's well-meaning.
Come get some.
We've seen him put at least 40 strippers through college.
And their kids.
Oh yeah, easily. Those were Benjamins he was passing out.
See, I enjoy having discussions like this, but at the same time, I get wary for two reasons. One, because of the whole backlash about female gamers and shit right now, which is such a huge, touchy subject.
May I ask, what the fuck is that? Did I miss a day in school somewhere? What the shit is this backlash? What is it?
Here's how best I understand it. I'm sure, you know, somebody's gonna correct me in the comments, or you know, by all means do. I really can't speak too much about the fake gamer girl thing because that's a weird phenomenon that I don't quite understand. But I speak about the like Anita Sarkeesian thing.
What?
Feminist frequency, the whole tropes versus women in video games thing. Like,
what's going on?
That is a hard one to explain. It really is.
I feel like you need space again. Like I missed something huge.
You really
okay,
did.
well let's start with the fake gamer girl shit. Like there'd be a lot of posts online, you know, girls dressed up, you know, as stereotypical nerds with the glasses and like a tank top and like kind of like scene-looking kids, like holding a controller, going, "Oh, you know, I'm just a gamer girl and don't mind me. I'm a girl playing games." Blah blah blah. You know, that kind of shit. And from what I understand, the backlash was, you know, they're fake. They're just doing it for attention. They don't really play games. Don't really know much about the culture of the gaming, etc. So there was this whole kind of like backlash against that, despite the fact that one, some of these girls, if not most of them or all of them, were genuine. Two, even if they were doing it for attention, like, hello, nerd dudes, here's like a chick that wants to do you. Like, I don't see what the problem is. But that was the main argument against that. Now, fast forward a bit to Anita Sarkeesian, which kind of also blew up the whole gamer girls thing. Her argument is that there are like literary tropes, like TV Jenny, you're familiar with comics. The whole the woman in refrigerators.
Oh yeah.
Tropes, like stuff like that, like looking at that and applying that to video games, which the idea is not without merit. There is a lot of representation, both male and female, that are negative, that are in games, like that could be better. And I think there's something to be said for doing academic study on gaming at this point in its life. However, she is a person who has admitted several times that she does not play video games. She is doing it for the attention. She is doing it for basically pissing off people. One of the things that she contributed with this project was going to DICE and then telling EA to change the control schemes for Mirror's Edge because, and I'm paraphrasing her words here, the controls are too difficult for women. Shit like that. So she's very damaging to the medium, more so than any developer, because she's making all these gross assumptions about what aren't true. So that kind of fucking blew up and added to the whole fake gamer girl thing. So being a girl who plays games and has played games all her life, I find myself justifying to other people that no, I'm not like one of those girls. I just want to play some fucking games, leave me alone. And it's not gone well for anybody. It's ridiculous, and it just pisses me off so much. And it shouldn't go. There are other things I should focus my energy and time on.
No, I'm kind of glad I'm not the pissed off one in this episode.
Well, it's entirely problematic because now there's an entire culture of misunderstanding between these guys who are just some of these guys who are just so angry and want to state that, you know, things like guys are misunderstood now completely, and we've lost our culture in gaming.
What?
The argument, to my understanding, is that academic critique from, now in this case from Anita Sarkeesian, that her academic critique isn't very valid and that it's ruining gaming culture. Now there is something to be said for her methods, because she's just going about it incorrectly, and when we're done tonight, I can show you some links, TV Dinner, to show what she's doing is really kind of fucked up.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds kind of like she's trolling.
Sort of. Like, there's this whole thing behind it, and it's too much to cover, like, in this short time that we have, so I'll be glad to explain later. But there were also some people who think that you shouldn't academically look at games at all, which is silly.
That's horseshit.
That's, yeah, the entire, like, part of the point of what we're doing, but also to talk about dicks, but mostly to talk about academically.
Well, I believe you know my feelings on genitals. Slacker Kite. I've made that a matter. I ain't against them. Unless I am against them.
Oh, I see the joke now.
Oh, I'm so lonely.
They're poorly realized academia is how we end up with shit like Jenny McCarthy.
Yes, agreed. Very much so.
And I you know, I didn't mean to choose a female example there.
No, but it's valid. It doesn't matter.
It's pop academia now, where people just, you know, but this person said it, and they have all these resources, so it must be a thing.
And I don't. Let me say this, because we kind of like what we're doing is kind of pop academia. Shit, you could say Bill Nye is pop academia.
Sure.
Because the whole idea of pop is just to make something that can be absorbed by the majority. That's what popular is.
Yeah, like you can take information that's factually correct, or you know, whatever, and present it in such a way that it can be easily absorbed by people without having to have the expert background to understand that. That's part of, I think, what made Bill Nye so popular. He took down these sometimes, especially for kids, concepts that maybe were a little difficult to understand or to fit into their worldview, and made it not simplified or dumb, but was able to put it into a context that they could recognize and go, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you either A, deliberately bring misinformation to the table for your own agenda, or B, just don't do your fucking research.
Yeah. And there's a difference here between academia and critique that I see get blurred a lot. Brad Jones springs to mind. Brad Jones is a critic who has spent enough time with the medium he's working on to speak on it academically whilst critiquing it, whilst satirizing it. It's complicated when you really sit down and think about it, and it's fun, and that's why people watch him. But people take these individual components of it, and they try to synthesize it, and it doesn't quite work for them because they're missing it. The game theory springs to mind. I watched a video of his today that boiled my blood. He was talking about the Mega Man series. That's one of my series, you know?
Mm.
And he was talking about how Dr. Light was responsible for everything because he had made robots to begin with, and Wily couldn't really make robots, just reprogram them. And I'm like, that is bullshit on so many levels.
Well, he did bring a very valid point to that video, that there is ethics that have to be taken into account. He failed to bring ethics into his creation of new life forms.
No, see, this is where I disagree with you. I don't think he failed to bring ethics into the argument. I think that if we look at it, Dr. Light brought a separate ethic. I think there's, and I brought it up to a buddy of ours, Shane. He's been on the channel before. Let's say that you woke up tomorrow with a schematic in your brain of how to build a robotic, like, sentience, a self-aware creature, robotic, completely synthetic.
Groovy.
The moment that happens, you have to go through several choices. And I think it would be philosophically valid if someone made the argument that, however drastic it may be, because it does seem melodramatic, but every second you don't create a life form that you have the ability and capacity to create, you are doing a disservice to creation. If you have the ability to create an intelligence and you are not doing it, you are not serving, what might be the greater good than what's past your normal morality. I think that, and he brought up, Light made Proto Man, and Proto Man just wandered off, and that was bad. I'm like, he's responsible for Proto Man. Like, how responsible do we hold parents for their children? I rarely see parents of murderers brought up on criminal charges.
Cool.
You don't see them get sterilized either, because we understand that there is there's a separate responsibility. Also, he seems to hold Light responsible for the creation of all robots all the time, always, ever. And that's like saying that Gatling, who created the Gatling gun, is responsible for all automatic weapons ever.
Well,
He's responsible for all deaths caused by automatic weapons and should be shunned as a historical monster.
according to the mythos of Mega Man, Light did make most of these robots, and then Wily just took them and reprogrammed them.
Well, he made the first 6 or 8, depending on how you count them. If you count Oil Man and Time Man. He made the first 6 Robot Masters. Who made the second batch?
I don't recall.
Wily created 8 new robots of his own. Then he made the 8 and 3. Then he made the 8, I want to say he made the 8 and 4, and then Dr. Cossack made the 8 and 5, and then the 8 and 6 were from around the world. They were specifically from different nations. The whole point was there was a robot tournament.
Okay.
So the argument, again, it's not, if you're going to speak on it and try to make these, there is validity. I'm not saying there's not validity to the argument that Dr. Light, created a robot intelligence, and maybe there should have been more discussion about that before he made 8 of them. But treating him as if he is the villain of the story, number one, you're altering the frame, which is fine, but just admit what you're doing. Number two, you are omitting critical pieces of information just because they don't fit your argument well. And that is the definition of pop science.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to say that, the game theorist is the greatest guy to have ever come out of YouTube, and every point he makes is completely and totally valid. That's the point of, Total Biscuit made a video once about explaining that there's a difference between enthusiast and literary critique. And we're enthusiasts. Me and you and Joan, we have some literary background, all of us. We have some ability to critique on that level. But we're still all enthusiasts here at the show.
Absolutely.
And you shouldn't confuse what we're saying with God's gospel just because we can speak on it on a level that actually is a little bit more coherent than others might. God damn it, in your labyrinth Duke Nukem bullshit.
But that's the thing, I'm not, I wish there was an official job title called Video Game Historian, because I would love to take that job title, frankly.
God, yeah.
But it's the whole, and to go off on a little bit of a related tangent, it's the whole thing between, say, gaming journalists, and people who just blog about games. It's cool to blog about games, by all means, blog about them, do YouTube videos about them, etc. But I don't have a journalism degree. I don't know if you gentlemen do. So there's this weird kind of gray line between proper quote-unquote journalism and then people who just enjoy the games and the culture and everything about games, the enthusiast who just happen to write about them. So it's where do you draw that line? And then if you're gonna call it, well, if you're gonna make the argument like, well, if people who write about them or do this consistently, well, they're journalists because they've been doing it for so long. Well, if they're journalists, they should be held up to the same standards that actual journalists are held up to, like ethics and responsibilities, which we're not.
You just use the term actual journalist. You know what I mean? Like we have that specification for a damn reason.
Right. But I've seen people make the argument that, you know, like let's use our video podcasting here as an example. People will make the argument like, oh well, they've been doing this for so long that means that they're not experts in their field, but they should have some sort of qualifications. They're journalists. They've been doing it. Like, well, yeah, we've been doing it, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're journalists.
Yeah,
It just means
piece of
that we
cake.
like what we do and we want to provide content.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum.
And
All out of gum.
it doesn't mean that we don't, like, you know, before we went into this, we discussed Duke Nukem, we discussed, you know, merits and points. We actually, I kind of wish we'd saved the conversation just to show people.
Yeah.
Played it over River City Ransom. But,
Always comes back to River City Ransom.
Hail to the king, baby.
because River City Ransom is the greatest thing made in the history of ever. Other than, do you count orgasms as an invention?
Depends upon how they're
They
made.
are a necessary biological function, so no.
Well, then, River City Ransom it is. I found a copy of River City Ransom for EX, and I almost took off the day as a religious holiday. That game taught me everything, which explains why I get arrested for assault so often. But we agonized over what game to pick,
I need
because we were wondering, like, what do we have to say? Like, what is it that we are able to bring to the table, you know, creatively about these things that we love so much? And we got a lot of maybes out of that list, and we got a lot of stuff we definitely want to visit in the future, when we have more information. I am not done with patting us on the back. Give that Geisha $1.
I need
Does she?
it back.
Oh, hi.
If you do not give that Geisha $1.
Them's nipples. Okay. I hadn't expected nipples today.
I don't know if that should go all the way down the body. I don't think it does.
I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
You tipped the red road one, but you didn't tip the blue road one. That's
That's
fine.
racist.
Something was shooting at me. I'm trying
No, that's
not
fine.
to die.
You're gonna be late.
Again.
You're gonna be late for your there, Super Hitler. But and I'm not saying all this to pat us on the back. I'm saying it because like no thought seems to be the norm.
Yeah.
And,
Like it's easy to scream into a mic and to play a game
It's time to
simultaneously,
kick ass and
but
chew
it's
bubble
harder
gum.
to
And I'm all
provide
out of gum.
one, commentary, two, commentary that's either interesting or relevant or funny or some combination therein, you know. So
and
it's
I hope we've hit it. I do.
me too.
We try to bring some amount of meaning to the words that we actually say and actually have something worth bringing to the internet rather than just I can't watch Angry Joe. I tried to watch that man, and for what he's worth, I see why
Hail to
people
the king,
enjoy 'em.
baby.
I can't do that whole I'm going to yell at the camera. And this is from somebody who actually enjoys the Nostalgia Critic and thinks he's an interesting fellow.
Nostalgia Critic's super hit or miss. Like there are very few internet personalities. I guess is the best way to put it.
Seems like it.
There are very few internet personalities that I am always like 100% on board. You just blew yourself up in the pipe.
No, I'm alive.
It didn't mean you had overfull. No, never mind. There are very few I enjoy.
Oh, fuck my life.
You are DUN done. Pull out that chain. Do you have one more Devastator ammo?
I'm alive still, and that's the important part here, I believe.
How'd you pull that one off?
because I'm on piece of cake mode. That's really about it.
That's it. Yes. Completely lost my train of thought. Internet personalities across the board that I enjoy are like Retsu Pare, Brad Jones, and that's about
Out in the
it.
Shadows is pretty amazing.
Gamer Grumps have some good stuff. I don't know why we're sitting here like judging the people that are obviously more successful than we are.
Well, it's not judging. I think it's going like these are people that have made it
these are people
based on talent.
Yeah, and are actually good at what they do. And we should, say about this exclusively, hey, these are people you should probably have some knowledge on.
Absolutely. There are, I almost hesitate to say, but there are enthusiasts that, through their enthusiasm, have transcended. LGR. He has forgotten more about computer systems than I think I will ever know.
Proton John is probably a fair example as well.
Yeah, I think you'd be right. I think so. Proton John actually got me interested in doing YouTube stuff. Believe it or not. Yeah, you're responsible for this, Proton John.
You'll never watch this. But that's fair.
Don't do that. No, it was and because he like we were talking about bringing that blend of information and interesting and funny.
Uh-huh.
And John does that like video to video to video. There are like the Retsu Pare guys who they're involved in. I know Beatus is involved in web development. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm for it. Aww.
Things were trying to kill me. I had to do something.
Oh, that was disappointing.
You just got bumped up to Hyper Hitler.
But yeah, most of these guys who do these things, they do them, the ones that I like, I should say, mostly do them as a hobby more than as for the reals. Like, Total Biscuit gets on my nerves after a while, because I think he's forgotten how to be objective. Whoa, hi, where did you come from?
Whoa, holy shit.
Yeah, you were done. I agree with Game. You should press use open key to restart level. Some guy some lifers do kind of get on my nerves. Yahtzee never seems to, but Yahtzee keeps his crap contained.
Yeah. Whoa, we're saving again. Yahtzee, yeah, even when he's, have you ever listened to his, Let's Drown Out series?
I have, yeah, I've been listening to him. They're not bad. He's obviously not the character Yahtzee.
No.
And he himself admits, like, he works off a script. Like, he works at it, works. That uppercase word with the W.
See, I'm not gonna admit, internet publicly, the ones I dislike. You guys can probably guess based on all the stuff that we've talked about now and in the past. The ones that I like are kind of like the general gaming ones. I mean, like, I'm a big fan of JonTron. I think, he's got some good shit. I like Two Best Friends Play. Some Let's Players like G-Up, because I love his history stuff. Like, when it comes to stuff that I like, when it comes to video game commentaries. Well, that's not so much maybe on the fucking, but we
just discussed this like half a video ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the Namco high.
What have we said about Joan's pilot seat?
Like GF, he did these two Let's Plays of Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2, and he brought all of this history of real life history, talking about the Crusades and the Renaissance and the fall of the Roman Empire and how that affected stuff that happened in the rest. Like, all this like amazing shit. That's the kind of stuff that I like, which you may or may not have guessed given all the information that I spew out whenever we have a video. But that's the kind of stuff that entertains me, not people screaming into a mic scare cams for like fucking 45 minutes, you know, like that to me it's like, all right, I can do without that, you know.
We're coming
I'm-
for you.
Like I said, I'm not mentioning names. It's just certain people I don't it's not entertaining to me. So I don't know, but what TV Dinner, when you said that there are certain people that transcend the enthusiast level, like from a technicality look at it, like I can't agree, but I also agree at the same time, if that makes sense. Like it's.
I hear you. Because I don't mean to infer that like them just being enthusiastic about their hobby is what carries them through. It's that their enthusiasm takes them to research. It takes them to it takes them to confirmation, and it takes them to citing sources. And you know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, I agree with that.
Like I don't want to call them amateur journalists or anything like of that nature. It's just LGR is like the best example I can give. I'm pretty sure in his like job he works on computer systems.
He has actually quit from all that. He does nothing but LGR videos now.
And he deserves it. Shit. I mean, but he did at one point work on
Time to
computer
kick ass
systems.
and chew bubble.
Oh, fuck my life.
What I mean is, homie has an IT degree probably in something. He knows what he's talking about on this crap.
Sure.
So it's hard to. These people aren't like those kind. By that I mean, Joan, that those kind of people,
Yeah,
they kind of, they're not quite enthusiasts. They're trained enthusiasts.
Right. No, and from that clarification, I completely understand. I mean, and not to kiss our own ass here, but it's like, I think that's kind of the perspective that we're coming from too. I mean, individually, I believe, you know, like Travis is into computers. I'm more into like audio and media and things like that. So it's like we're not coming with technical backgrounds on this, but we're coming with backgrounds for somebody who is passionate about games, who grew up with games, who made it a pretty significant, at least in my experience, part of our lives. So, like that shouldn't discount it either. So yeah, like, I see what you're saying.
I kind of feel like the guy bringing soda to the party, like, you know, coming almost empty-handed, because I have 2/3 of an English degree, so I understand I understand that from a storytelling standpoint. I understand the literary aspects and the how media, how what we do with our fiction affects us culturally, and that's how I approach games a lot of times. Technical is almost always lost. Kite seeming, I've set a computer on fire before trying to fix it.
Yeah. That's not an exaggeration. That's the truth.
Goodness.
I didn't even, it wasn't malfunctioning so bad it burned. I set it on fire in frustration.
Oh.
Now that's an overstatement.
Damn it, Kite, the joke could have lived.
It could have, but I killed it. I killed it before it was a thing. And
But you better be damn sure I know how power supplies work now.
Christ. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, just because you don't understand something or do understand something doesn't mean you can't do something stupid with it. My dad is a great example of that. My dad really understood and loved cars.
Is it?
But wow, could he do some things with cars. Like, he set several of my cars on fire while trying to fix them.
Holy shit.
Well, that's where experimentation kind of runs into intelligence.
Yeah, and you do have to sometimes experiment and be like, okay, well, what does this do? Well, it set the car on fire. We won't do that again.
Right.
I know we got to call it soon. I don't know how to. We're not really good at wrapping shit up.
No.
And I promise we meant to talk about Duke Nukem forever, but damn it did not happen.
Well, I think we've kind of covered a little bit more interesting of what it is that made Duke Nukem awesome in the first place is that it's fun, and that it doesn't hold punches, and that was something that was missing at the time.
It's a kind of non-politically correct fun you don't see a lot of it these days. I think the most successful example in recent memory I can think of are the Pseudo-51 games. And I think Pseudo-51 does it perfectly. Between the No More Heroes games and Lollipop Chainsaw, I think he hits him out of the park. I really do.
Yeah, I adore Pseudo-51, and he is weird.
What I would be interested... Joan, can I ask you... I know we've got to wrap it up soon. Can I ask you what you think of Lollipop Chainsaw? Am I getting a joke that's not there? Like, should I be offended?
I fucking loved it. Like, I thought it was great. Like, it's... I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this. There are a lot of feminists who will say that it is a shitty game because it's exploiting a girl and it's all about, like, her tits and her ass, and, like, yes, that's part of it, but it's not the whole of it. And there was actually this great deconstruction piece that I read from somebody who wrote about it, and it was actually showing how much Juliet was, like, this actually kind of terrible person, and how much, like, her boyfriend was getting kind of abused because he was, like, the floating head on her and all this other shit. So it's even taking that away from it. Like, I thought it was just great. It was cool to have a female protagonist who kicked ass. I really didn't care about the fact that she wore, like, skimpy clothing. I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, she's a teenage girl in a high school and who's a cheerleader. All right, fucking whatever. Like, it didn't bother me. Like, but it was a fun game. The gameplay was fine. The storyline was fine. Like, I didn't have a problem with it. But there were a lot of women who will see something like that without even playing the fucking game, and will just see the fact that she's wearing skimpy clothes and then fucking jump down people's throats. You shouldn't play that game. It objectifies women. Blah blah blah. It's like, play the game, then come back to me and talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the dude did feel kind of more objectified. What was being turned into an object?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, they ignored the fact that she solely kept Nick around because she was lonely and there was a boyfriend. Like, he wanted to die. He's like, I don't want to live like this. I don't live as a fucking head. And she's like, well, you're my boyfriend and I love you, so you're gonna do what I say because it's my magic. And it's like, instead of, like, looking into the game going, well, it's actually kind of fucked up that she's not gonna do that for her boyfriend. Like, they see a skimpy outfit on a girl and go, oh, objectification. Like, all right, you know, like.
Well, if they want to be offended, Bayonetta's right over there. Like,
see, and even then, Bayonetta, I don't have a problem with her either. This is why you're like, a lot of people are gonna get pissed off. I don't know.
No. It's not about having a problem or not. It's that I think Bayonetta's I think you can make a very interesting argument about, like, what we talked about earlier, like, sexual repression in Bayonetta. Mm-hmm. I think that is an interesting argument that, an interesting argument that should be had. Mm-hmm. But that being said, Bayonetta feels like it's even more vulnerable to that kind of in passing, like, anger, like, offense, than even Lollipop Chainsaw is.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, in all fairness, I have not. Like, I've only. Bayonetta is a game that I've watched other people play. I haven't played it myself. But just from what I've seen, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's like, all right, it's
fan servicey, but then again, is fan servicey by itself a terrible thing?
Not necessarily. I mean, fuck. I mean, one of my favorite games is Metal Gear Solid, and it's all about, like, grabbing dudes' crotches and bisexual dudes and, you know, kissing other dudes, and it's all this other shit. So it's like, I'd be a hypocrite.
Metal Gear Solid 2 awakened in me things I was not really aware of at the time.
Like, presidents grabbing dudes' crotches.
Stupid sex erotic. I think, and to go back to Pseudo-51, I think he's the king of using fan service to stealthily sort of deconstruct what it is you're looking at to begin with.
Yes, like, he's not an unintelligent individual. Like, I'm gonna go on the assumption that he's making these design choices, very specific design choices for very specific reasons. Like, he's not doing it to be, like, a sexist pig. He's doing it because he's doing it to make a point.
Right.
So
one of my friends who is a female and a gamer, I'm going to point that out. Loved Lollipop Chainsaw's boyfriend because he complimented her even when he didn't have genitals.
Okay.
That sounds weird, doesn't it? But I see where she's coming from.
Mm.
That's a very weird sentiment. I understand that, but I do ask you to think about that for a moment.
Yeah, no, I understand. Oof.
It's a really weird sentiment, but I mean, granted, yeah, he had.
Oh, I don't agree with it because it involves not having genitals, which I am not about.
We're very pro
Right.
genitals here at the What Are We Fighting For?
I mean, TV dinner. If you were a floating head, just attached to your lady for the rest of your life, I mean, how would you feel about that?
Not for it. Not for it.
Well, hold on. Do I have some control over the television?
Yeah, I'll be liberal. So yeah.
I might not be the most okay with it. This is a head scratcher. I'm going to have to think on this one.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm not saying no straight out. I will say that. Plus, he only had to be there for like a couple days. He bitching and moaning about it.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a video game, right? So who knows? Maybe the head, you'll attach it to some sort of super cyborg flying action thing.
What's its genital count?
2.
I need it.
One or more.
2.
What? Oh, I get both?
Sure, why not? You're a robot at this
Rad.
point. Who's to say what genitals a robot's supposed to have?
That's a very nice thought, actually.
Part of me wants to just call it on that thought. You know, when you're a robot, maybe you could have both sets of genitals, and
Maybe you'll have a third pair we haven't thought of
Yeah.
yet.
That's
I'm
getting
gonna go
into
ahead and call
home
it
territory.
and maybe after all, that's what we have been fighting for.
3, technically.
I think it's a good place for me to call it a night.
Joan, we're just fighting for our third non-human genital. What about that can you not understand?
No, like I said, that's getting into Homestuck territory, and I don't even want to begin to touch that.
You know how I feel about Homestuck. If it ain't Tavros, no sale.
Hey, Kite, I really should have to get going.
Yeah,
I've
this
got
is a good place to call it, so I just blew myself up for the fun of it. Alright, so this has been the What Are We Fighting For, and we've been playing Duke Nukem and discussing gender roles and what is
Violence.
and violence and what is awful and why it can't be awful. And I think this has been a fun one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, good times.
I liked it.
I miss Josh.
Yeah, too bad he couldn't be here.
We'll get him next time, and we'll go back to the old retro, super retro, rather than 95 retro.
Who knows? We might get into 16-bit soon.
Ooh, scary.
Ooh, hey.
So hey, make sure to follow us. Subscribe, like, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. I don't know.
Wait, there's a CBGP Tumblr?
I've been debating a Tumblr actually because we could link to things about Arnedius Arcasian and all that stuff and entertain and both inform our audience on things, but.
I warned him I'm gonna fill it just full of weird porno.
That's Tumblr. That's Tumblr.
Oh, okay, alright, so that's cool then?
Have you seen the Welcome to Tumblr video yet?
No.
Let me get that
get
queued
that
up.
link for him. And in the meantime, signing off, anything you guys want to say?
Thanks for listening to us, and I really do hope that you enjoy our commentary and our critique and all that stuff. Yay.
Yay. Goodbye.
Yeah, I think she said it best. Good night, everybody.